I'm Kate from Mini First Aid. I'm absolutely delighted to be taking part in the Happy Mum, Happy Baby virtual festival. Mini First Aid train over 1,000 families every week in basic first aid for babies and children. And one of the things that parents commonly talk to us as their main concern, in fact 7 out of 10 parents said it was their main concern, was choking and the risk of choking for little ones. For those of you who are weaning or thinking about weaning your baby, it can be a really nervous time when you're thinking about what foods you're going to give to your baby and also managing a situation should your baby find that they're choking or gagging on something as they're eating. So hopefully from today's session, in 10 or 15 minutes, we're going to talk about some top tips for safe eating at home with little ones, something that you can employ right across your family. But also, we're going to talk about what to do should your baby choke to make you feel nicely safe and equipped at home. Okay, so first things first, we need to talk about 3 golden rules when we're eating at home. And those 3 golden rules are things that you need to employ across all of the family meals in your home. So those 3 words are sit, chop, and chew. So sit. First things first, make sure that everybody sits down to eat. Standing, walking around eating is not good practice. It puts children at higher risk of choking and accidents. And therefore, if everybody at home, even when you're out and about, makes a point of sitting down to eat, it's far safer eating practice and it's better for digestion too. So start by making sure that your little one has a good, safe, high chair to sit in to eat, and ensure that you only offer them items of food when they're sitting on their bottoms. So that's golden rule number 1, sit. Second rule for you is chop. So we want to chop our food into manageable pieces. Now babies have very little mouths and they've got gums to mash that food and move it around, but they need to have pieces that are manageable. And I've got a good visual tool to show you today. This represents the gullet, which is the back of the throat of up to a 3-year-old. So we're talking about little ones here today. And basically anything that can fit in this little device here could form a risk of choking. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to choke, but what it means is that if an object can fit in here, it poses a choking risk. Now they use devices such as these when making toys and manufacturing toys and giving parents guidance on the suitability of age for the child. Just so you can see size-wise what we're talking about today, you'll see a little piece of Lego here. If I pop this Lego in this choke tester here, you'll see that it fits in. So this is not suitable for under 3s and also poses a choking risk. Have a look now at a piece of Duplo. So Duplo is suitable for the under 3s, and can you see that it can't fit in? So it doesn't mean that you can't give children things that would fit in a choke tester, which from a dimensions point of view is approximately 3 centimetres across, and at its longest point there is 5 centimetres. But what it does mean is that you need to be extra cautious with children when they're eating or consuming things that are in this pot or can fit into this pot. So when we think about portioning or preparing food for babies and young children, we've got 2 options. So some people will prefer to go down a spoon feeding route with their babies, and that's fine. Today is all about advocating personal choice. However, if you choose baby-led weaning and you're offering your baby items to hold and explore the food themselves, what you want to do is make sure that you chop, remember that golden rule number 2, the items into manageable size pieces. Think about your baby's fist, and what you want to do, I've got a head of broccoli here. See that there? That's perfect for baby to be able to hold that with a firm grip in their fist and be able to gnaw on that and explore the food. Far better than chopping that into lots of little pieces, which could potentially become a choking risk. So that's much better to have it in a grabbable size. Baby can hold on to it and gnaw and explore those textures. And I've got the same here with a piece of corn, and the same thing here with a runner bean, some firm favourites in our house. Now the big, or one of the higher choking risk foods that families will often talk or hear about in the media are grapes. So you see a grape here, and if I show you back my choke tester again, look how that fits in perfectly. So what we need to make sure is that when we're preparing grapes for our children, that we make sure that they don't form that key shape that could form a choking risk. So you see how I've halved the grape here, making that a much safer size, that if it should pass in an emergency into the windpipe, it's not going to block it. And actually for very little ones, I'd be quartering grapes. So that's our best advice. So other foods that you might want to think about when you're feeding baby is if you give them sausages, making sure it's in thin strips rather than in slices. And again, if you're giving bananas, let me show you this banana here. So if you peel a banana, if you notice here, that's a full circular. I'll show you here with my choke tester. You can see that that fits in, and that could then potentially be a choking risk. But have a look at something really clever that bananas do. Bananas break down their spines into thin pieces, which is much easier for a little one to grab hold of and be able to gnaw on, and much easier for them to manage. So we're making sure that with all the food preparation, whether we choose to spoon feed or if we choose to give our baby food for them to explore themselves, that the pieces are in manageable sizes so they've got a good opportunity to get hold of them and be able to chew them and move them round their mouths. And that takes us perfectly onto golden rule or best practice number 3. And that third thing is to make sure that you chew. Now, babies aren't born, or most babies aren't born with teeth. So therefore, when babies are first eating, they're going to be using those gums, which if you've ever had a baby bite down on your finger with their gums, you'll know they're very powerful, and they'll use those gums to mash food to allow it to pass down into their throat and into their digestive system. So we need to encourage babies to chew their food. And the best thing we can do to do this is to make sure that when we're eating, we chew. You might feel a bit silly doing that, but think about when you're eating your food, and quite often as adults, we're guilty of not chewing properly. And little ones are constantly watching us. And if they're watching and learning from their parents and carers, and they see that food just goes in and seemingly is swallowed, they're not going to learn to mash food around their mouths, which is the crucial thing that they need to do to make sure that then the food is mashed into pieces that are suitable to pass into their digestive system. So, sitting on bottoms, sit, chop, break foods into manageable pieces. Remember, think about things that potentially could form a choking risk, and making sure that you prepare food in shapes that won't impact our airway. And finally, make sure you encourage children to chew. So lots of chewing when you're eating with babies and young children, so they learn that good behaviour right from the beginning. Now, in some very rare occasions, babies will choke on the food that they're eating. In fact, it doesn't even need to be the food they're eating. It might be something that they're playing with, or something that they've managed to get hold of, and as they're exploring around the home, they found something, and babies put things in their mouths. It's what babies do, it's how they explore. And so we do have a risk of choking at home. And so what we need to make sure is that we know as a parent and a carer how to deal with a baby who is choking. I have my baby mannequin here today to show you how to deal with a baby who is choking. When I show you this technique, this is for babies under the age of 1. Now, babies have a very natural and far forward in their mouths gag reflex. That's the reflex that if you put something into their mouths and it goes a little bit too far and the body thinks it's at risk of choking, it gags and pulls forward. So you might see your baby playing and exploring, putting something in their mouths and naturally gagging. That's Mother Nature looking after them, and so that's a good thing. So a baby who gags, coughs and splutters, goes red in the face, is nothing to be concerned about, but we do need to make sure that we are always with our children, particularly when they are eating, but also when they're exploring, so that you can determine whether your baby is gagging or choking. Now, the big indicator of a baby that is choking is that a baby that is choking is a baby that is silent. And the reason for that is that if food or an item that they're playing with or is picked up and put into their mouths passes into their windpipe, it won't let oxygen and air pass through the windpipe. In other words, they can't make any sound. So if my baby is sat here crying, red-faced, perhaps a bit coughy spluttery, I can be confident that my baby is not choking. Might be that something's a little bit stuck or uncomfortable, but they are not choking. If my baby is silent, and another telltale sign is perhaps that her lips may start to turn blue, I need to act quickly to remove the object to which my baby is choking on. So to do this, there are 2 manoeuvres that you need to remember how to do. First of all, we need to have our baby up and out of her high chair or the seat that she's sitting in, and we want to get our baby turned face down and also head down. So we want to use gravity to help us out. And this part of her back here, between her shoulder blades, this is the first manoeuvre that you need to remember to do. So what you need to do is you need to hit your baby on the back, and you need to hit them hard up to 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now back slaps are so effective that the chances are the object to which was blocking their airway that we're choking on will have come out. And you'll see it on the floor, and baby will probably be having a good cry because they're not going to be particularly happy about the situation that's just occurred. Back slaps are very, very effective. So up to 5 back slaps, and on yourself, if you feel that hard bit between your shoulder blades where it's nice and firm, you can hit a baby really firmly using your hand on the back, when remembering with them head down and leaning forward. So I've got her here over my lap, up to 5 times. I'll just show you that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And back slaps are so effective, the chances are the object will come out. However, in some more rare choking situations, the blockage can be further down the windpipe. So to do the chest thrusts on the baby, what you need to do is, using those 2 fingers, we're pressing into the chest in a jabbing motion. And we're doing this up to 5 times. Centre of the chest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that motion will move air up and out of the windpipe, taking the object with it and into the baby's mouth. So we did 5 back blows where our baby was facing down, head down, and we were hitting them on the back between the shoulder blades up to 5 times. And then if that wasn't effective, we were turning our baby over and doing those chest thrusts with 2 fingers in the centre of the chest in a jabbing motion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in a choking situation, you would work between those 2 patterns of 5 and 5 and 5 and 5 until either the object came out or emergency help arrived. Now, if your baby falls unconscious, you will need to be prepared to give CPR. Now, we get asked by parents, at what point should I call an ambulance? And it's really, really important in a choking situation. You do want to raise alarm, you do want help, but also equally you want to get that object out as quickly as possible. So our advice is, and recommended first aid protocol, is that you do up to 3 rounds of 5 back blows, 5 chest thrusts, 5 back blows, 5 chest thrusts, 5 back blows, 5 chest thrusts before going to get help or ringing 999 from your phone. Now, babies, particularly those that are under 1, are very portable, so you could continue your back slaps whilst moving with your baby to get your phone to call for emergency help. Now, I'll show you also what you do if a over 1-year-old is choking. So I've got a slightly larger mannequin here to show you today. So the numbers are exactly the same. So remember, we talked about 2 different sets of 5, but this time our process is slightly different. And this is for anybody over the age of 1 and up to puberty, so approximately 12 or 13 years old. So we're going to lean our child forward. We might now ask them to cough because they understand a little bit more, and we can ask them to help us by coughing. And we're going to give them, remember, up to 5 back blows. So we're supporting their chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, As we said with baby, back blows are very effective, so the chances are that this object is going to come out as a result of the back blows. However, if it doesn't and it's firmly lodged in the windpipe, we need to move to something called abdominal thrusts. So to do this, we make a fist with our hand and we place our fist with our knuckle just below the rib cage on our child. Put your other hand over the top. And what we're going to do now is we're going to pull in and lift up. And it's known sometimes as the Heimlich manoeuvre. So we're going to pull in and lift up. Now the best thing I can say to parents to help you remember this is think of scooping ice cream. But now think about scooping ice cream when you're in a bad mood. So we're going to pull in and lift up. And we're going to do that up to 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in exactly the same way as we did with our baby, we move in cycles of 5 back blows and those 5 abdominal thrusts, pressing in and lifting up for 5 times, and we work in cycles until emergency help arrives. Or should our child, in the same as the case with the baby, fall unconscious, then we do need to be prepared to give CPR. And so what's so important is employing those home safe eating top 3 rules from us, which is sitting, making sure everybody sits on their bottoms when they're eating, that food is chopped or broken into manageable pieces for little ones to eat, and that everybody is encouraged to chew their food properly. Employing those 3 things into mealtimes could mean that you completely avoid a choking situation with children. Thanks for joining us today as part of the Happy Mum, Happy Baby Festival. Mini First Aid have been delighted to take part. We're more than happy to take any questions that you may have through our social channels, and if you want to look up the opportunity to attend a first aid class, we'd be delighted to welcome you along. Hope you find it really helpful, and stay safe everybody.
Thank you for watching. There are loads more exclusive videos from Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the virtual meetup, for you to enjoy. Just go to happymumhappybaby.com. And a special thank you to Pura, one of our wonderful sponsors, for helping us bring the magic to life. Thanks guys. See you later.